Yo, 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 what up, what up, what up? It's your boy, Crime Wave. Christ really is moving everywhere because he really is. And we here today with a tutorial. I'm gonna show you how to mix on Mixcraft, through Mixcraft, using stock plugins. Um, and I'm gonna just let you know this is a Christian channel. So, um, um, if you don't like it, you can leave. And on top of that, Mixcraft has a plugin called Gunner Loves Jesus. So that's in case you stop using Mixcraft, bruh. For real. But look, check it out. So look, yeah, I got this ugly bar down here, and I'm gonna move it out the way. Y'all can see my face periodically or upon request, $400. But yeah. So check this out, right? So just to give a little background, I'm a mix engineer and I'm a producer. I produce for a group called GI Wonder. Um, Feel free to check out our YouTube page. The link is in the description. I'm actually a artist as well. I have a project coming out, and the link, the pre-save link to that upcoming project coming out. You can pre-save it on November 25th. It's coming out on, I want to say, yeah, New Year's. It'll be out then. That'll also be in the description. So check out that. And I got some big stuff coming up as far as mixing tutorials on YouTube. I got one where I'm gonna be mixing vocals from Busy Bone of Bone Thugs and Harmony. Yes, Busy Bone, Bone Thugs and Harmony. I'm gonna be doing that video soon, but you can't get it now. So wait, it's coming out real soon. So, but just for the sake of showing the tutorial, I'm going to be mixing a record off of one of my latest project with my group, GI Wonder. Again, check out the link in the description to our YouTube page. But it's a record from there. I'm going to be showing you how to mix instruments in this video, and also how to mix vocals. It's going to be two parts. So if you're watching this video, you can see the next video for the vocals, which will be in the description as well. You can click the link to that video, and I'll show you how to mix vocals after mixing your instruments. Just just to give you guys some context. But here, this is how we're gonna start it. Let's get right to it. I don't want to make waste any more time. Oh, and before we go though, I will be putting my songs from my upcoming project, 93, on YouTube as well. Those songs will be on YouTube when the project drops. But without further ado, here we go. So this video is going to be talking about mixing instruments, and well, showing you how to just mix in Mixcraft, period, with using stock plugins. Like, you can use all stock plugins. All you need is knowledge. You need to know what is going on and some creativity. So, all right. So first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about gain staging, right? Well, first, let's hear the track. This is one of the songs from our upcoming project. Well, no, excuse me. The project is already out. It's off the Trinity album by GI Wonder, and it's called "I'm Rich" Part 2. So here we go, just to play. This is a mixed version of it.
The trailer parked the empty shop and cost the dirty dishes. The crazy part that played a major part in my ambition. The lights was out, the car would start like ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. Daddy turned the music up, my mama made a whiskey.
All right. So as you can see, that was a mixed version of the song "I'm Rich" Part 2, as you can see here. For all of those, you know what I'm saying, who can read. But yeah, this is a mixed version of that record, and I'm gonna show you how to get records there. Like, I'm gonna show you how to get records there. Now, first I want to start off with the concept of gain staging. Gain staging is very important because Well, it's gain staging and leveling your instruments. What a lot of people don't know is leveling your instruments is like I would say 90% of the mix battle, and then 90% of the mastering battle is the mix. So it starts at the leveling of your instruments and everything, like the vocal and all that good stuff. So here's what we're gonna do, right? So I have been told, and I found this to be true in my experience. You can mix any way you like, but in my experience, I found this to be true. The kick is the loudest instrument in the mix. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, it doesn't sound that loud, or da 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 da. But that could vary. But the thing is, it's the loudest instrument in the mix according to actual volume, not perception, not the way you perceive it, the way we as humans, the way we hear it, but the way you perceive it. So let's take a look, and I'll explain this part of it later. But see here, these red, because it's important to, before you start, just color code everything. You probably already do that if you're watching this, but if not, color code, because it just makes it easier. I mean, it gets really freaking it's not, it's crazy, but this makes it a lot easier. So check this out, right? Now let's look at this master fader, this master bus here. This is literally a sum, as you can see when it plays.
Fruit, but wisely pick your poison, make a difference.
Sum of all your instruments. This is the master bus, and you can also see it. Well, you can see it here too. Right here in this area, see master and master.
Make a difference. I move with a militia, not malicious in particular.
Sum of all your instruments. Excuse me if I burp a lot. Just freaking IHOP earlier, but yeah. So
the trailer park, the empty shop, it cost
all your instruments, and here we're gonna start with leveling the kick. So you gotta for the sake of time, I'm gonna work kind of like backwards, like as if the session is raw, like it's not mixed, but I'm gonna show you how to get it there, and you can take it step by step. So the first step, like say you got all your instruments, right? You got everything loaded. Like this is the kick. Let's name this kick because this is exactly what this is. This is the kick. I usually do my 808s blue. This is my 808s or bass. That's the 808. I'll explain this later. It's part of 808, but it's like an advanced thing. I'll show you that later. This is a hi-hat, open hi-hat. I usually color code all my hi-hats yellow. Just, I keep up with it. It's like any type. This is open hi-hat. I know what it is. It's open high GA. We gonna call it that. Open high GA. Let's see what else we got here.
Fruit, but wisely pick your poison, make a difference. I move with a militia, not malicious in particular. You're moody, better.
Alright, that's the vocals. This is all vocal. I'm just gonna focus on my verse today. Just for the sake of time and
the dirty dishes. The crazy part that played a major part in my
snare, obviously. What is the clap, snare, whatever? Same thing, same category, I guess you would say. Yeah, here we go there. And know what that is? That's just strings. Some more hi-hats. See, look. See how I just rearranged it? Now, and you can get I usually get all one key to mixing. If you're going to start mixing, get good samples. And I would recommend Splice. That's what I use for all my stuff. And I know, sometimes it could be like, okay, I don't want to use that because everybody else is using it. They can have something you can have and da-da-da-da. But, get creative, mix your stuff. Me personally, sometimes I just take the stuff as it is because I just like the way it sounds. Like I don't even tweak it. But nonetheless, you can use Splice to get some drums, some good processed, good samples from Splice to get your drums, your 808s, hi-hats, kicks. And it's a really cheap, affordable thing. It's like, I think it's $14 a month or something like that. You know, so it's not too bad. Like, I would recommend that. You get unlimited access, pretty much. I mean, you know. But anyway, so we have kicks right here. So how I start a mix, right? Now it's important. I literally put the master fader to 0. Like, put it at 0. And I'm going to tell you the reason for that, right? So the reason for that is because most producers, engineers, master engineers, they'll want your mix to peak at about -6, -4 even is fine, but they'll want it to peak at because they need headroom to master your song. So -6 or -4 is a good, you know, spot to be. Like, for instance, let's check this out right here.
The trailer park, the empty shop, it cost the dirty dishes. The crazy part that played a major part in my ambition.
Let's look here, and then we can see where it's peaking at, right? Like, this is -9, and then it goes like up. See, I don't like this part. Like, I don't pay attention to that part really. Like, I pay attention to how it peaks on the meters and stuff, because like this is, but what I think it is like comparing it to like the old school style, like VU, like basically analog, and you know, this is a digital audio workstation, so it's just like translating it, and it's just like this is where it would be on a digital. That's what I believe. I don't quote me. Somebody could, you know, I could be totally wrong, but nonetheless, to get a good sound and to make sure your mix is right, the goal is to peak for all. Like, once you got all your instruments, just to peak, and can keep it in mind that the kick is the loudest instrument. So, as far as volume, not perception, and I'll get into that in a few minutes. But here, right? So let's look at the meter and see how it peaks. Just look at it.
The trailer park, the empty shop, it cost the dirty dishes. The crazy part that played a major part in my ambition. The lights was out, the car would start like Daddy turned the music up.
That's where I get everything to peak, to like peak at. When it spikes, when it jumps up and down, like it does here, and it peaks up. I literally like to get it to peak at like -6. You can't, like the old Mixcraft, like 8, they had it was more like numbers. I don't know why they changed it here. Like, you can actually see like more numbers. They'd be like -10 and 8 and 6, I believe. I can't remember, but I know. But just here you can see it's like -9, right? And then, well, there might be actually 9, but nonetheless, it the goal is to get it to peak above. That's what I pay attention to. This is my guide. To peak above this 9, to where it's like
played a major part in my ambition. The lights was out, the car would start like Daddy turned the music up, my mama made it.
Not hit yellow. I mean, it's not hit red. Because if it's red, it's too hot. You know what I'm saying? But that's like keeping it at, like, we start at 0. It's important to start at 0 so you'll have a guide. So we start at 0.
That played a major part in my ambition. The lights was out, the car would start like Daddy turned the music up, my mama made a biscuit. Health is wealth and youth and wealth is riches. See, we different.
And you can see it peaks at red at some parts, but it's like, it's not constant. And 2, the biggest thing is use your ears. Like, you don't want to completely neglect the meters. In this case, the way I'm teaching how to mix this, but the important thing is use your ears. Take breaks, use your ears. Like, as you can see, you can hear it. It doesn't sound distorted. It doesn't sound like, oh, it's mastered. It sounds like a mix. Like, it's at a good level, but it's not loud as it can go, so on and so forth. So
car would start like Daddy turned the music up, my mama made a biscuit.
So there we have that, right? So how do I get it to get there? So I start with the kicks. I'm at 0. I go here, and the first thing I do is use classic EQ, right? The classic, this is a standard plug-in, stock plug-in, literally classic EQ. You click that, and now it's hello, what just happened? Wait a minute. Whoa. Apparently, yeah. See, well, okay. What happened is this will be good to show. All right, it moved. The volume, the input of it moved. This is what I use. The input. I think input is the gain, like going in. And output is like the actual volume at the end of it. But don't even worry about that. I would just focus on this input right here, and these. You can click these on and off. This is like warm. It's like part of this. Like this is saturation. This is link. Just literally allows you to pull everything up. Like see how it's like it's just separate now. I just leave it on links. You can link all the fader knobs and stuff. But here we go, right? It's like, and you can see it's peaking. It's like it's way too loud to fit into this mix. We can play it back.
Car would start like Daddy turned the music up while Mama made a biscuit.
And you're like, well, it sounds good. It's hard hitting. It's this and that, but you have to take into account your final master is not gonna be here.
Lights was out, the car would start like Daddy turned the music up.
The misleading part, because now you're thinking, well, it's red, it's peaking, excuse me, and it's all the way up. Oh my God, excuse me. But that's just literally just the kicks is what's causing that. And then what'll happen is when you go to master, like say for instance, the master engineer gets it.
The lights was out, the car would start like
Everything's good, everything's in the pocket.
The car would start like Daddy turned the music up while Mama made a biscuit. Health is wealth and youth ain't wealth is riches. See we different. Don't bite the fruit, but wisely pick your poison, make a difference.
Now the kicks are peaking. Like they're distorted. They distort way before everything else does because they're too loud. You know what I'm saying? So you want to give yourself room. Just me personally, this is how I do it. You really want to give yourself room to where the engineer can work with it. So we start here, right? And then we gain, like we bring it down. Usually, like this is for every single mix. Like no matter the kick, and we can get into texture of the sound in another video. But every kick, it's like I watch it on this meter here, and I literally let it peak at -10. So on this overall meter, but and keep in mind I let it peak at -10 while this fader rests at 0. Keep that fader at 0 at the whole time. Of course you can turn it down and to check your mix and stuff, but as far as getting it leveling instruments, keep it at 0. Doing the leveling process, just the leveling process. So bringing it down till it peaks. Like, pay attention to this. So it's like, okay, it's at -12. It could be louder. All right, see how it's peaking at -10. Like it hits negative. It's not. It does like it gets its loudest there. And we can maybe go a little bit more. Let's go a little bit more. So it hits it more frequently. Okay, there you go. And you can see it here. You can kind of see like it's right above -9, which will be like -10. Rightfully so. So that's the kick, right?
Made a biscuit. Health is wealth and youth ain't wealth is riches. See we different.
You know, back at a good level, and we can turn it up.
Riches, see we different. Don't bite the fruit, but wisely pick your poison, make a difference. I move with a militia, not malicious in particular. You're moody.
Now I'm mixing through headphones, and that could, like, this is a great level that will translate well in a car. That's why it's important to have, like, to pay attention to your meters and know your speakers, like where everything hits at. Because see, me personally, I've been doing it a long time, and like I check, my car mix. Just I have like KRK, the Rocket speakers. that's where it hit. And I have a mastering engineer that we work with. I work closely with. You know, he lets me know if something's off, and this has been like a surefire way for it to translate well, because that's what you want. You want your mixes to translate well on every. And I found the best way to do that is to incorporate these numbers, like use them to your advantage, but the key is using your ears. That's a very true statement, because I mean it's mixing. Like no consumer is gonna see this process unless you know do a video, but they're not gonna care. They want the music to sound good. You see what I'm saying? So
The trailer park, the empty shop, it cost the dirty dishes. The crazy part that played a major part in my ambition. The lights was out, the car would start like Daddy turned the music up, my mama made
optimal room, and it'll hit in a car, you know, and I can teach you how to make it hit even more, but it'll hit in the car and it'll be optimized, but don't get fooled by headphones, because headphones do not display the entire frequency spectrum, especially when it comes to bass instruments such as a kick or a sub bass or 808. A kick, you know, it could be hard, but if you just learning your headphones, learning your speakers, how it's supposed to sound, like the best way to do that is to get a professionally mixed reference track, see how that hits in the speakers, in the headphones, and get your record to do the same. And I found that by using these meters and doing that. So starting from kick, I like to do like bottom up, like from the bottom of the frequency spectrum, kind of, I guess, like this. I do the kicks.
played a major part in my ambition.
We have our kick, and then you can see this is mixed, but I'm gonna show you what I've done to mix it after I do the leveling. But as you can see, it's mixed here, but just we can take it off and you can still kind of
Part in my ambition. The lights was out, the car would start like
notice it sounds a little weightier, and that was a preference, and I'll get into that later. But it's still the same volume. That's why gain staging is important, and we'll go over that as well. I'll actually show you what the gain staging process is. So this is the kick. It's right there. I'll show you that.
the trailer park, the empty shop, it cost the dirty dishes.
And then we have the bass. So for bass, I usually like for it to hit at literally in that area. I would say it's about -14, but like halfway between that 18 and this 9, -9. It'll vary on different EAWs. You can literally use this technique on just really use your ears like. All right, so same concept, right? We take this, because then so in like Pro Tools, it'll be like a trim plug-in, and I didn't have one, so I just used this as a trim plug-in, and I just made sure it didn't add too much to it to change the original text. I mean, not the text, the original sound of the instrument I would use, and it doesn't like it helps, like it just gives it a little bit of saturation and warmth, because that's kind of how, you know, when you use that outboard gear, I believe it's called, it like kind of puts compression and saturation on it and gives it that warm, full sound that brings all the harmonics out. So I think it was just a good choice, like using the classic EQ as a volume thing, like literally just to, you know, it's an EQ. That's what EQ is. It's literally just turning up or down different frequencies, and you know, using volume to turn down different frequencies in different areas. That's all it is. It's literally a volume control for a specific frequency. That's all the EQ is. But as far as using it as a gain plug-in, like to turn stuff up and down, we use it here for the bass, same concept. So we got our kick. It's a loud instrument that's peaking at -10. So we want the 808 to be tucked right under the kick, ideally. And here I kind of done it symbolically, like, you know, just put it so I can see it better and I can mix better. Put it right under the kick. you want it to sit right under the kick. You want it to be full. You don't want it to be too overpowering because a lot of people misconstrued bass like, okay, it has to be loud. Like, yes, it does, but they don't understand when it comes to hip hop anyway. But they don't understand that subwoofers do the work. We don't have to get in there and crank and crank and crank. And then next thing you know, we have a lopsided mix. All your headroom is eaten up. The mastering engineer can't match because your bass is just too loud, has no control. It has no really intelligible quality to enjoy the music. So it's just like, yo, what are you doing? So here, what we're going to do, this is like 90% of the battle. Again, leveling. Let's level these 808s. Like I said, I like to get it to peak. This may be too loud for me, but then again, it's cool. But before I do it, let's do this first. Actually. So say this is mixed, but say it's not mixed, right? I'm just leveling. You starting off. One thing I do, so when I'm leveling, I literally start with an EQ on all my instruments, so I can turn them down. But when I start with the bass, I usually use this distortion. And why do I use this distortion? Because distortion brings out those harmonics, right? So say like your bass is like really nice at 33 hertz. And then so those harmonics will be like 33, 66, 99 hertz. And then you just go on up the spectrum and it makes it more apparent to the listener. And it gives the illusion that the bass is actually loud, but it's just the harmonics because those frequencies, the higher the frequencies, then the more you go towards 2,000 kilohertz and 3,000 kilohertz, the more apparent it is to the human ear because that's the attention frequency. And that's the frequency you hear like a fire alarm or a police siren or whatever the case may be, because that's the attention frequency. And the more you hear, you put an instrument towards that frequency, the more apparent it is to our ears, which is what I mean when I talk about the perceived volume. Like it sounds louder, but the actual volume of it is like the loudest. Hence the kick could be the loudest instrument, but it is not perceived as the loudest because you have other instruments like the voice, the human voice, and hi-hats and the main melody. That could be like, oh, that's more apparent because so on and so forth. But I say that to say I put this EQ on there for volume, to do my leveling. And then I use this distortion plugin. Again, another stock plugin. You can literally go, it's in, stock. It's acoustic distortion. And you can hide or show it. And literally, I just put a ton of, I like how much I want it. Like I can go 15 even. Let's listen to it. See how it's like, so you kind of take it out, right? And it sounds lower because it actually did get lower. Like you can see it here, right? It's like literally it's like 27. But we can actually turn it back up. Like let's turn it back up. And it adds value, right? So it's like pre-gain and post-gain. Just like for the volume. But what I do, right, I can load in like a good, you don't want to give too much because if you get too much, it could compete with the vocal because it starts to hit near the frequency of the vocal. And that's the point of mixing. You want to separate the instruments it doesn't have to be completely void of that frequency, but you want to put more of a frequency into a certain instrument than you do others. So that way the mix has separation. And then you start to create a good mix and it makes it easier to mix. Because that's the point of mixing. You mix all the instruments together, but you want everything to have its own kind of lane. Like, the voice is here, this and that. So I give it, I usually do 15 max. Like, or it depends. You just, again, use your ears, depending on how you got the 808. Like, the 808 wasn't that, like loud. And to begin with, like, if it's a sub bass, and it depends on how you want it. Like, sometimes you want the sub just to be really deep. You don't really want to hear, you want to feel it more. But if you want to hear it more, you add the distortion. And the most I would go is like 15. Let's listen to it. Right? You can see here on the meter, it was peaking pretty high. Like it was, towards that -6, and keeping like that -6 is where we want the sum of the mix, like the entire mix to hit before we send it into mastering, or -4. Just depends. Just make sure it's not peaking in red, because the mastering will get it to peak in red. But in order to get it to sound good while peaking in red, you have to make sure your instruments are leveled properly, because mastering, it brings everything up, it gets really loud, so on and so forth. So I got all the distortion I need, right? But this post gain, this when I turn it down, right? And it still has that grittiness, like the same, harmonics sounds mean now. It sounds more aggressive. Like you got that. And here's how I can give it a little bit more. Like I said, I like to get it like right in between. Maybe I think it's -14. Let's go post gain. This is about right here. Just use your eyes when it comes to the meter. Yeah, I would say about 22 is a good spot. Maybe 21. Yeah, I would go 21. And so the point of, like, the way I get my bass to hit, add that distortion, post gain, use this as your new volume fader. So I like to keep everything at 0, right? Negative. But yeah, like keeping it there, like that's the best way. Like that's it. So now we got the kick, and now you can kind of hear how it sets right on top of it, and they're both distinct, and it's like the bass has control. It's not, and this is with no compression or anything. We can even boost it, right? See, this will be that master volume level, and it still has weight. You know what I mean? And this is for my parallel compression. I was talking about earlier. Like here. But yeah, that's how we get. So the kick, it's like -10. Then of course we want the bass to sit right under the kick. So we go about -14, which on the meter, it'll be about. And now listen how they both mesh together, right? And that's how it should be. That's about where it should be peaking when you have just your kick and your bass, because those will be the loudest as far as where the kick will be the loudest, and the 808 falls somewhere in there, like right under it. And this is where the sum of those two should be. Then I move on to hi-hats. Hi-hats. And these are high. Now, hi-hats are interesting because, like I said, when it comes to that perceived loudness, the hi-hats will sound the loudest in a lot of instances because they're so high in frequency. Excuse me. So, let's drag it down. I find it to be very pleasurable to listen to hi-hats when they're tucked right under the kick, right? So usually what hi-hats for me, they start off, at the 0. Let's get it at 0. All right. And then I use the plugin just like, the classic EQ, like I've done the rest of them. Classic EQ, use the plugin, and I literally bring it down to where it peaks at about negative 18. Because, all right, let's see. As you can see, right, it's like negative 18. And keep in mind, you drag your master fader back to 0. I bring it down to about negative 18. First, you don't gotta do this, but just me, to how I, my train of thought, just my flow, my workflow. I get down negative 18, then I play it with the
Cost the dirty dishes. The crazy.
Right, and it's still like it's super loud. It's still like, okay, that's too much. So I take the value fader, and you want it to fit like under the kicks. Like put your hi-hats under the kicks. That's like they can get really annoying. Like because they're so high in frequency, it can annoy your listener to listen out. It's too much. But you want to have a good place where they can hear them, because the hi-hats do give the record a bounce when it comes to hip hop. Like it literally can change. It could change the perception of the tempo. A lot of times people think a song is sped up because the hi-hats are like the hi-hats come in, and they think, oh, the record got faster, quote unquote, but it's not really faster. It's just it caters to the tempo more, and it makes you think it's faster because the hi-hats come in, but it can literally be like the same tempo of 98, and it makes it sound faster depending on how you place them. Or I can do it where it's like, and it can just like, you know what I'm saying? But keep those hi-hats right under the kick. So you use your plug-in, do it at 0, turn it down negative 18, then I take it, I turn it down. Now you can find a different way to do it. Like this is, it can, I can understand that could be kind of like, okay, that seems pointless, but that's just me, my workflow. That's just how I do it, how I've been doing it. Had no problems with it. It ain't broke, don't fix it. All right, so we have right under the kicks, right? And now they set at a good spot. And that's pretty much how I do the hi-hats. We'll get to the mixing stage of them, as far as compressing the EQ after I level it. But that's just pretty much it. Like literally it. Just put them down so they fit under the kick. I'm telling you, 90% of the mix is definitely those instruments
Hits at 18. Too loud. Fader. Find a spot. Use your ears. Find a spot that feels right to you. Where it just, but keep in mind that you'll most likely find it. I'm going to say 99.9% you're going to find it when it's well below the kick. If you got this far in your level stage, you got everything. Maybe you can do it any way you want, but find it below the kick. This can be, how loud you want it. Some songs, like putting it's a trick too. Putting a open hi-hat on the same count where the kick lands, it can make the kick hit harder, quote unquote. Like it can make it seem like, let me show my face. It can make it seem like the kick hits harder than it actually is, because you now have a high frequency setting on a frequency that's not so high, like the kick drum, and when they hit at the same time, it's just like pss, pss, like the song Just Go Home, what's it called? Just go home, we going home, just hold on, holding on, whatever, by Drake. Like those kicks aren't like the hardest hitting, but they have those those open hi-hats on them as soon as that the kick hits, and it makes it seem like, okay, those kicks are hitting hard. And that's kind of a trick you can do with these open hi-hats. Enough of that for now. But yeah. So same concept, drag them under, and you can kind of play with it wherever you want, but they will be snare. It could be clap or snare. And my snare or clap, it usually hits in the same spot as my 808. The same value, right? Now here was a little bit lower. This is back in the day. But that's because I did a EQ trick where I boosted the higher frequencies. But that can make you clap stuff now and then. Hard to listen to. Let's try. Let's boost them. Okay, so we paying attention to channel 21. Gotta plug it again. Alright. Yeah. 0. See how that's super loud. Like, what's going on?
a sure kind of direction. Like, okay, it has to fit in between these volume ranges because you're trying to take it into mastering, and you want your mix to hit hard. You want your bass, you want your kicks to hit hard, you want your claps to hit hard. I have, things that have weight. And when you start with that bass, and I mean bass, like when you start with that foundation of getting those instruments leveled in that manner, to me personally, you just set yourself up for success. And it's kind of something I developed just over studying, and it translated so well. It worked with the song I got with my group for Busy Bone. Like when he put his verse on our song, it just worked, and it's just like it works on every song. And literally every song. I mean, of course, different instruments, different sounds, and that's the beautiful thing about it too. It does not hinder your creativity. Like you're not pigeonholed to like, oh well, I can't do this song because this and that. Like it literally works because it's on the basis of numbers, and numbers, they are what they are. But and the beautiful thing, it still allows you to create how you want to create. So here we go. We got this going right. Melody. Like, where's the melody? And this is the melody that was part of the song. Like, I ain't bragging, but I'm saying like that sample. Oh, I like that so much. But yeah. How do you fit your melody and everything? So once you got everything, you got your kick hitting, you got, oh my God, you got the hi-hats, you got the 808, just everything is just nice, right? You want it. So now you need a melody. You need something to give people a vibe. Like, yo, where are we at? Are we in the jungle? Are we in a sewer? Are we on top of a roof? Are we in a car? Where are we at? And we're here. Guess what I do, guys? I use my plug-in again. And literally, I found it mostly every time because, okay, I'm going to explain this concept too, but check this out. Right? Around that, it sounds a little bit thinner because I EQ'd it for the sake of my voice. My voice will fit better, but okay. Competing with the bass, that's why I EQ'd it, but nonetheless. And I got it because it was something I read about VU meters and how somebody can explain this better. I know somebody can. Somebody use Mixcraft. Somebody can. But how like zero, like on a VU meter, 0 is equal to -18 digitally. But yeah, you get the point. Like in a DAW, and that's why I pulled it down and I found it. For most, like all of my melodies, they sound best at the -18, if this even is negative or whatever the heck that is. But because they got like two sides. But this is the meter I use right here, like the one right here to where, well, yeah. What else are the numbers I use? 6, -6. Well, that's 6 plus 6. I don't know. But I look at this like this where the number is, where everything is hidden. And so to see it here, because it got stuff playing now, it's just confusing. You can't really pull apart. but you can still see it on the individual channel. So 34 is where the melody is. It sounds like it fits right in. It's not too poking out. That's how I do the melodies. And literally so this is your main melody, right? Let's say you want, like, you got a lot of sounds. Like, you just got a lot of sounds. Like, yo, I don't want this melody. I want this. I want somebody chanting. I want this and that. No problem. You literally take it and you tuck those under the main melody, because that's the main melody. So the highest the melodies will be that -18. -18. So in this particular song, I actually had, let's see what we had. What else we have? Oh yeah, I had guitars in here. And you can pan them out too, like, you know what I mean? I would probably pan them, like, because this is like a year ago. I kind of learned a little bit more. Wasn't too bad, but. See, they hitting around -18 because it's, nonetheless, it's still like a instrument, but like not a drum really. But it's an instrument, but you know, like strings and stuff. But like they're hitting around that, and panning helps. Panning is a great way to create space and differentiate. Like, it's literally one of the most surefire ways. Like, okay, something is there, something is here. Like, to call separation. 18 and we still sound good. That's another melody we have, is the guitar, right? So then maybe I want to add some more melodies. Like, well, not melodies, or a chant or something. Like here. Literally same concept. Start at -8. Start at 0. Throw your EQ on. Get this input. Drag it down. Same concept. So start at -18 with those melodies, drag them down to where they fit. Parallel clap, or snare. I got violin. About -18, I believe. Like, you don't have to drag those down, because it's kind of like this how it is on Mixcraft. So it's kind of like, I feel like I just discovered the right way to do it when I done that. But you know, there's no right way. It's all up to you. It's subjective. But yeah, this is it. Everything and notice, you know, same concept. Drag it down, and I had like some stuff on here, stereo, enhance, stuff like that. We can just make it raw. And guess what? we still have room. We still have headroom. Now, like I was saying, everything is gonna peak at that -6. This will be great for mastering. Sensor mastering in here, you can turn it up. Decent sound, still clean, really, loud, nice, and you can take it, until it starts to distort or whatever and kind of bring it back down. But that is the leveling for the instrument, right? So now you say, okay, it sounds clean, but I feel like it can get a little cleaner. What do I do now? Okay, you putting your EQs on. So let's start back with the kick. All right, so say I want a kick. I want the bass to fill that bottom end, like all of it. Like I don't even want anything to fill the bottom end but the sub bass, the 808. So got my EQ. Throw my EQ on. This is parametric. Now just a little understanding of it, like humans can hear from 20 hertz all the way up to 20K. Now this particular EQ, you can get one from like I know the one Pro Tools has a really good one where you can hear. I think it has like all the way up to 20K. But humans can hear from 20 to 20K, and of course, getting that high in frequency, you're not gonna hear as well. Like 20K, you're not gonna hear it. Just like 20 hertz, you're not gonna hear it, but you can still hear it nonetheless. But that's about as high and how low humans can hear. And I use parametric. Like you can use different EQs on like Mixcraft Pro 9 has a lot of freaking they have a lot of plugins you can use. Like you got this EQ, you got tone boosters. You can I don't even that's completely up to you, but I use this one. It just helps me see better. I can mix better this way. It's literally like this is the one I use, and what I do, like I said, oh my God, my mind is slipping. Yeah, like I said, say you want your 808 to completely dominate the whole sub section, and this is completely up to you. This is usually how I do it though. I let the 808 dominate the whole subsection. So I literally take the first band, this little shelf, this low pass, I believe. I always get confused. Low pass, high pass. It's a pass, quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Nonetheless, and I bring it up to about 32. Like I roll everything off below 32 hertz. Like I leave that to the 808. So this is my kick. Now I'm gonna show you something, but just pay attention to this right quick. All right, so. The best way to mix it is to mix while all the instruments are playing, so you know actually what to separate. But if you have to by itself, like do that. I got everything on solo right now, so it's all playing together because everything is solo, which is funny because you solo everything, now they all together. But 26, yeah, 26. All right, let's pay attention. This is where the gain staging comes in. Check this out, right? All right, so now I'm carving, right? And also it's important, I didn't mean to keep stopping, but it's very important to mix at a level where it's not too loud. Now this is where you can turn your fader down because all your instruments are now leveled. And to make sure they're in their proper level, pay attention to the individual channel because this is where you can see where it hits at, right? Check this out. I'm gonna pronounce this input gain back up. All right. You pay attention to that. It's still at the same place. That's why it's important. I'll explain that in a minute. But I'm rolling off up to like 32 hertz. But there's something in this kick that I like or that I want to keep. That thump, right? So it's best. The best thing to do is A/B, meaning just turn on your plug-in, turn it off so you can see your actual change. That's why but it's important to have it at a level to where, you turn your mix down enough to where you can actually hear what's going on, because the human perceive louder as better, and you just don't want to get confused. And you would think, oh, it's good. It's really not. It's just you turned it up loud. You're not really making a really good change. But if you could, like in this situation, just reading your meters, because if you got your stuff already leveled, you can kind of semi go by that, because everything is leveled and it's in a proper place, and you know where it hits, like where it's gonna hit at. Like the kick is at 10, this is at 14, and yeah, you know what I'm saying. You can kind of go by that, but to become a good mixer, to learn, in order to start incorporating more of your creativity, use your ears. You have to use your ears. Like if you don't use your ears, it's just like, what are you mixing for? You know what I mean? So now here how I boosted 71 hertz. Now I just grabbed a band, like the tube band. It doesn't really matter, as long as you can make. As long as I think the 6, you can make those like fine. As long as I think 6 or 1 on the Parametric EQ tone boosters, you can make those fine adjustments. So you can use like 2 through 5. Either one is fine. All right, so check this out, right? Sound at about 71 hertz. And I usually use the Q factor. That just allows you to, it shows you how much of the frequencies you're gonna affect that's around the frequency you've chosen. Like for instance, I want to boost 71. It's not only gonna boost 71, it's gonna boost the frequencies around that. But again, use your ears. Like my ears told me when I drag it to around 71 with the Q factor at about 1.5. That sound will be boosted in the kick, and I like the way that sounds. So you don't have to do much, because again, you pick good samples. That's the whole point. It's just like when you record a vocal. You record the vocal well, so you don't have to do too much in the mixing. That's the whole point. Like you don't want to get a good mix, you want a good recording. Like it starts with the recording. Just like to get a good mix with instruments, if you record instruments, record the instruments well in a good environment. Or if you use samples, get good samples. That's why I recommend Splice. And yes, you can still be a real producer if you use samples. I mean, that's what music is based off of. Well, at least hip hop. But anywho. And then you might think, well, it's turned down now, it don't sound as good. It's not the point. Remember, you're trying to take it into mastering. It'll sound good in mastering. Like once you but please gain stage, learn. Yeah. All right. So this is where. 0.5 a boost in that area. Like, and that's it. Like, literally, that's the highest I'll go. If I'm just feeling like I need a little extra oomph, let's do 1.5, 1.5. Then this is where we A/B. But when you A/B, make sure it's still hitting that -10. So if you need to use this output gain here and turn it down, do that, because you want to have everything in the same volume because you're trying to move it towards mastering. So check it out. Play it without. Alright, so sometimes this computer, it glitches. It's so weird. Like it takes it down, and I don't know. But alright, let's do it. So that's about where we want it. Look at those meters, right? All right, this is without. We focusing on the kick, the red little part. Notice how the body got kind of sucked out of it because we took out this 32 hertz, like that sub bass, that low. And the reason for that is, and you might think, well, what happened? It sounds weak now. It's all wimpy, blah, 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 blah. But okay, so the reason for that is because we're going to give that frequency to the 808, and we also we can also add it back with our parallel compression. And it's just, you know what I'm saying? So that way your frequency lives, and it's like, again, like I said, that's how I do it, but you don't have to take it away. You know, you can always put it back. Same spot. We still in the same spot as far as that meter goes, that with that level. And now mine reads different because the computer glitches, and it's just weird. Then like I can literally close out of the session and come back, and it'll be above that 9, like where the 10 is. But when I start to mix, it just does that. But I use my ears. Like the whole point is you want the same volume, period. And let's, stay in that -10 based off the 0, like on the master bus. Are we at 0? Be -10 for you guys if you do it that way. Boost it back up on it, but so the whole point is keep it at that. You'll be able to maintain a good sound again. And this is now, it's cleaner because you have an EQ, or it hits harder because it's and that's too, like I said, use your ears. If it doesn't sound bad, move on. Like if it does not need it, move on. Like everything does not have to be EQ'd or compressed. If it comes great, it is great. Like it sounds good, it is good. That's just what it is. That's a really, really good rule when it comes to mixing. All right, so now what I do with 808 is you got to mirror your EQ moves, because, I mean, those frequencies, those are the two frequencies that are going to fight those two instruments. I mean, again, EQ, and instead of taking out the 32, we're gonna boost. Well, we left the 32 because which you can, but you just got to make sure you make room. So I would still cut something in that, you know what I mean, in that kick, but I usually boost 32 in my bass if it has that frequency. But again, usually is like, for instance, because some bass it be so high in frequency it doesn't even really have a sub. It's just like, because like nowadays there's some songs in hip hop that doesn't. But let's listen. Gotta engage the plugin first. Now you can kind of leave that 32 hertz on this kick, because there's really none. This is not really a sub bass. Now that we think about it, or now that we hear it. In that 60 hertz range, right? So like, yeah, that's probably why I boosted here in the past. So yeah, you can go as comfortable as you like to go. Just don't go too crazy. EQ, I took the Q factor, I boosted it up though, so it's more narrow all the way up, and I took out, so that way you're not pulling the body, because it still has that frequency. You just want to make room. So what I done is just made it narrow, the Q factor, and let's see. Yeah. So what was it? It was about like 98. You just take out like 4 dB, so that way your kick can live, and that's what you want to do when it comes to that. Like, so. The 98, 99 with a narrow Q, like literally take this, boost it all the way up, or close. It ain't got to be all the way, but just enough so you can cut more specifically that certain frequency. Because remember, if you pull it back, it makes it wide and you affect all the frequencies, but you can zero in on a certain frequency. In this case, we're going to do that so this kick can have that frequency. So that's boosted, but again, that's gain stage. This is important. Pay attention to the what I'm saying, right? It sounds weak. Why does it sound weak? It's like it's not there, even without distortion, because it went down. Let's go back. Volume went down at some point. Hold up. All right, so. And you can use any other your volume, but just for the sake. Look at that. What's going on? Okay. All right, this is for 28. So let's look at our meters. Like I said, remember, and this is like generally for the whole gist. It if you put it like in between that 9 and that 18, like at 14, 16, whatever the case. Look at it being stubborn. It's just not moving. Wait a minute. You see, that could have been lowered, but my output gain, because remember I previously mixed, but it will start at 0. But let's all right. So let's look at it. After making these EQ moves, like okay, let's say it started at 0, right? Because this when you put the plug-in on, if you're first starting it, if you didn't do previously mixing like I did, because this song is already out. Remember, you can look at the link in the description. Check out our album, GI Wonder. Subscribe, like, and all that, man. Appreciate y'all. Okay, so it's like right in between. This is what these EQ moves. Like, so, because remember, EQ is boosting a certain sound. Like, say if I take number 2, right, and I boost like the most apparent sound in the 808, it'll probably turn the volume all the way up because the EQ is boosting a certain frequency, which affects the overall sound of the instrument. So check this out, right? All right, let's go to 28. All right, pay attention. Boosted like a really nasty sound, but it literally shot it all the way up, and that's why it sounds weird, right? So turn it back down, it's just like normal. Sometimes, here's a trick too. If you want to control, because sometimes you can have 808 that does like more than one tone, and the higher in pitch could be the higher in frequency. It could be like boom, 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 and literally, it could be like, whoa, this part is super high. That part is I don't know where to stop with the peak, and you can kind of like you make that judgment based off of like, okay, what do I want to hit? Like, say you have a low frequency one. It's okay for the low one to peak a little bit higher. Like say, cause you want your bass to peak in between that 9 and 18, right? So you got an 808 pattern that's like really low in one part, and it kind of climbs up, like kind of glides, like doo, 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 maybe something like that. And you want your 808 to still hit, but not be too loud. So just pay attention to how, like I get real specific. Like I pay attention to how each 808 peaks, and I try to focus on the bass part hitting still, like the lowest one still hitting at the in between 9 and 18. And if the higher part goes to like maybe around like is like as high as the kick, like the higher frequency 808, that's fine, because it's not going to be for long. It's not going to be annoying to the listener. Like and that's what I said about use your ears, because you can still kind of hear like, oh, it sounds tight. It sounds like it fits into the mix. It's not too overwhelming. And just to control it more, to get it even tighter, you can use a limiter. And how I usually use this one, this is stock plug-in again, Zener limiter. literally I use the minimum limiter setting, so that way the 808 pattern is more consistent, is more tight, and you can kind of see here, and still while hitting at that between the negative 9 and 8. Kind of locked it in that place. Like before, it was kind of loose. Always use a limiter, but not too much. You don't want to squash it, and then you want to put compression on it too, just to bring that. But that's it for that. The 808, like that's how, what I'm saying, literally the same as the kick. Use that gain staging. I had 2 EQs on here just for like simple stuff. Maybe I heard like a weird frequency. I was pulling it out, or maybe here, but. Use your ears for that, but I'm not going to put that on here. And then I move right on to the kick. Clap, excuse me. Now here, this is strange. Like I cut a lot of, a lot of body out of this. I wouldn't do that now. But, I mean, it worked for the time. It's cool. Music is music. But what I would do now, right? So let's go to the clap. Try to learn how to mix while all the instruments are playing. Because people are going to hear all the instruments. It's not going to be solo stuff. So. Down here just for the sake of it. Like it's not really necessary, but it's just a habit. All right, so but to get to the culprit, like what do we want to boost? Say one of these bands, the Q factor is about 2 here, that's fine, between like 1 and 2, just to get you a good band of frequencies to affect. All right. It's like anything will sound bad if you put it that high. But so the key is to listen to it. Like, how does it sound now? Is something bothering you right now? So let's try it. Bright, like I got so many other high brightness, like the hi-hats, I'll just roll some of this high end off. So let's try this. That's it for that. I didn't see anything wrong. Maybe we'll have something that, like, maybe a few here, but I didn't see anything wrong with it, me personally. Kick, and then sometimes what I'll do is I'll check it. Like, let's boost it. Like, when it gets mastered, how will it sound? Then I go back. Saying? So like I said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that was it for that. Just make sure it's gain stage properly. It's still peaking. Then you move on. So we got all this, all our instruments, right? We'll say that other. All right, so now what I do is I glue my drums together. And what I mean by that is, so Mixcraft 9 has built-in for Pro. Now you can achieve this trick with Syntracks with the stock plugin still, but just for the sake of this video, it'll just be like, you know what I'm saying? It'll be we'll just use this. So Mixcraft Pro 9 has this built-in like compression and saturation, like drive and this like threshold, like just a compressor, and it's really cool because it's just more convenient. So what I do is I like to glue my instruments together. Like I really like to. So it just has that tighter sound. So I'll get all my drums, right? Put them all close to each other or whatever. You don't got to, but it just makes it easy. So like, okay, let's start at 25, like hi-hats and kicks and snares. So let's start at 25. I usually put 2 on the drive because you don't want to overdo it. You have to end up, using more EQ and whatever the case may be. And 6, maybe 9, but I usually go -6, 0.6, and 2 for the whole on each channel, like each bus or whatever the right terminology is. Yeah, 31. Let's go 31. 6 and 2. 6 and 2. 6 and 2. All right, so clap. Oh my God. 6. No, what the heck? 2. See, that may be why. Well, yeah. And you can put it on before too and still get a good EQ too. So don't worry about that. And a good compression or whatever. And the last thing I do is be just compression. So yeah, 6 and 2, 6 and 2. And the kick. I don't put it on the 808s. I usually don't glue my 808s to everything. I let them be separate because they're a little bit different. But I mean, All right. 28, 6. 6 and 2. No. Oh my God. See, look, you see what I'm saying? Nonsense. Okay. 27. I think it's the last of them. So hi-hats, kicks, and snares, you can glue them together with this right here. And then I like to give a little glue to the whole mix by just boosting it 1. Literally just 1. On like the master, you go to drive. I don't use compression because it usually happens in the mastering stage and they got bus compressors and stuff like that. So I just leave that alone. I use drive. I use about 1, just 1. Then we can go back. All right, so then I do my last stage and I compress the instruments. All right, so with the kick, usually, all right, I literally use the stock plugin, the stock, like the old school Kajarish audio joint. Like I don't even use the new one. You can use the new one, but I'm gonna just show you the old one, and you can kind of use the same concepts. It's the same thing, but okay. So threshold, right? It's like that ceiling. So just imagine, like it's like it has a like a volume that you want to put it at, and it can't cross that threshold. Or yeah. So when it starts to get towards that threshold, like this the volume coming up, this threshold to come up, the compressor will start to work. It'll push it down, like, you know what I'm saying. So for the kick, I usually go around a -8 just to let it breathe. You can do -10 because that's where we got it on there, but just to let it breathe, because keep in mind the instrument is already good. Like, it's already like if you got a good sample, you're not gonna try to do much anyway. So I literally I put everything around -8 just because it'll fit into the mix right. That's closer to the top of where the loudest instrument will be, and it gives everything else room to breathe. Like, it literally gives the whole mix room to breathe, because you don't want to squash your mix. You can compress it too much, and what'll happen is when you hear the exciting stuff, like, it's good to control it, but if you do it too much, you hear the exciting stuff, what'll happen is it'll just push it all the way down and squash it, and it'll never really hit, like, you know what I'm saying? It won't give it room to breathe. The mix will sound squashed. It'll suck the life out of it. So you just don't really want to do that. So I keep it at 8, and then the ratio, I literally will keep it at like 2 and 5, like 2, 5, and 1, and with that, like, so like 2 and 1 ratio is like for every 2 dB it goes over, it'll push it down 1. I think I'm saying that right. It'll like bring it down 1. It'll bring the volume down. You know what I'm saying? But I do 2, like 2 and 5 is the most. Like, I leave it like that. Like, I literally just go to vocal, put it up. This is how hard it works. Like, the hardest. So I usually leave it at soft. You can tweak it a little bit. But here's the attack, right? So 0.5 being the fastest and 500 milliseconds being the being the fastest, 500 milliseconds being the slowest. This is the attack. The release is how long the compressor will hold the audio. 0.1 being the fastest. Yeah, the fastest release, and no, the slowest release. Wait a minute. All right. So if you put it at 10 seconds, like, you take it all the way, it'll literally hold it for 10 seconds. So yeah, that'll be slow. And then you do 0.01 seconds, that'll be fast. So basically, if you have a fast attack, it'll grab the audio immediately when it hits that threshold. So if your audio is torn toward that threshold, it'll go towards it, and as soon as it hits that, it'll grab it immediately. It'll push it down by 2.5, like, on the ratio. You know what I mean? Like, it'll push it down, and it'll work as hard as you have it here. So this is if you wanted to attack immediately. You put it towards the left, like closer to the left, like 0.5 milliseconds being the fastest, and this is slowest. And this is just the output, like the volume, like, literally turn it up, turn it down, and that's what this is important. This will go with your gain staging. Like, you have to gain stage properly, or else you throw the mix off. But you leave it at 0, it'll leave it at the same the volume you had it, like, before we went in, which is the volume we discussed earlier, the -10 for the kick. So literally grabbed it and was like, it literally, like, squashed it, because it, like, took the initial punch of the kick and it just turned it down, like, according to the compressor. So usually with a kick, And now what happens with that fast attack? It gives it more weight, right? Like it'll turn the tail. Like when I say tail, like you can kind of, but the only thing that really has a tail is an 808. Because kicks are snappy. There's like boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? So you want the kick to snap hard. So you take it, but it's up to you. But I would recommend most of the time, depending on what kind of kick you use. But in hip hop, it's different in different genres. But in hip hop, and you turn it up, like I would use a slow attack. So like towards the 500. So now let's try the slow. Made them kind of poke through. Like they kind of just like came up a little bit. So that's literally what I do with the compressor for the kick. And that's just that. Like, that simple. Remember, just the gain stage. Leave it at 0. Because that'll just give you the value you had when you went in. And you can boost it. But, I would keep it where I had it. For my 808, I use slow attack because they have a tail. And if I want my 808 to be, depends on how the tempo of the song, because if your instruments are moving quickly, you might want to have that snappiness to it. Like you want to have that faster attack, but a slow attack, because the 808s have tails, and you can always too, because a compressor is just a volume control. It's like manual volume automation. Like if it's too low in one part, the compressor does it for you based off the way it's set up. So you can literally come in here and turn up the tail, like but it's very tedious, like obviously, but with excuse me. Slow a fast attack, and it's kind of bringing the tail out, because it's like, you know what I'm saying, bringing the tail of it out, because it's making the quieter parts louder. Bit, and we're still at 0. That's kind of what I do with that when it comes to the 808s, because we want it to have that body, so we want it to be full. But just be careful, and because you can cloud up your mix like that sometimes, but most of the time it works. What I do is go to the melody. Oh, we didn't talk about. Wait, we'll talk about that last. All right, so. Whoa, what just happened? Okay. Yep, see that? Turned it all the way up. All right, so. So then, on the clap. The claps are snappy. with the hi-hats. Oh, we didn't go over this either. All right, so let's talk about the EQ. I usually just roll up to like 500 off because you want to have that body but not interfere. Make sure it's gain staged, and then depending on how I want it to hit, like if I want it to hit hard, like I want them to kind of smack in your face, I use the high too. I mean, I'll use the what am I trying to say? The fast attack on the hi. Or like, okay, so then on these, I have a more body, and I use like a slower, maybe mid to slow attack. Jump out too quick because I have more than one hi-hat. So I make one of them mid. But my open hi-hats, I usually do those fast because I want them to hit or to make the kick stronger, like I was saying earlier. So yeah, back to the clap. Same kind of concept. Like, you got it just like this. You want them to pop through. You can make them slow attack if you want them more weightier, but I usually do them fast because it's, you know, hip hop is so smack crack in your face. So, ooh, that's an interesting trick. We'll talk about that later. But we will talk about parallel compression. So I use parallel compression. Literally, I make a copy of my kick. I use parallel compression on my kick and my snare and my vocals. So, kick, snare, and vocal. So on the kick, you just literally make a duplicate of, which I already done, but you make a duplicate. You literally go here, hit duplicate, so you have all the same effects, but you go into the kick, right? You hit. I add some distortion to it. And you can leave it kind of high, like don't even worry about the gain because this is something you're mixing in to give it more body. So it just is a whole different process. So you just, give it some distortion, maybe a little bit here. You can kind of just literally throw the plug-in on, give it how much you see fit, and it'll be like super loud. But because we're gonna turn it down anyway, but you can kind of check it out. After the fact. Okay. So yeah, it'd be super loud. Same, don't worry about anything but the compression, right? So you take the compressor, and then this time, instead of giving it room to breathe, you're going to take it and you're going to like squash it, like literally dial it back to like 20, negative 20. And you take the ratio and go like 50-1. Like you're not letting it breathe at all. You're going to put the attack up to like fast as it can go. Released. You're going to hold it like 10 seconds, slow as it can go. You can, adjust this. Yeah, yeah, you can adjust it. Matter of fact, turn it all the way up. Not all the way, but pretty high. Something happened. And then you can add some distortion in there. When you duplicate, it'll be exact. This is from previous mixing, but it'll be exact. But just to kind of get the point across. All right, so you got all that. You take it, you squash, take your compressor, you squash the heck out of it, 50-to-1 ratio. You dial threshold back to about 20. Turn the input up. Put the attack fast as it can go, release slow as it can go. 10 seconds, 0.5 milliseconds on the attack. And then you add a limiter just to make sure it's tight. You don't have to, but I just do it just to make sure it's tight, because you're not trying to affect the original audio necessarily, just trying to give it more. So, more thump, so then you slowly fade it in. So turn it all the way down, right? More feeling, like, does it feel thumpier? Does it has that weight? More pop, and that's the thing about mixing. You want subtle moves, like if you can gain stage properly, like if you can level properly, then you gain stage properly throughout your whole entire mix. It'll make it easier to make those subtle moves, and you can actually hear what's going on. And that's why it's important not to have the volume too loud. Because if you have it too loud, you just think everything is good, because when everything is loud, it's like, oh, it's great. But if you actually turn it down, like for instance, like let's try this. To preserve your ears as if you're a mix engineer, because mix engineer job can last for a couple decades if you take care of your ears right. So all right, same with the kick, but it's a little different because it's doesn't have the bass in it. So same concept with the threshold and the ratio, but with the attack and release, you want to do just mid-level on each. Like literally go middle, kind of mid, maybe like, a little bit over here, and literally the same thing. But you won't need like distortion and stuff on it unless you want to. You want to get creative, but I usually don't. Limiter, because you still want it, Sometimes it's a little bit too bright, or if I want it more bright, I'll affect the parallel one, the squash one. So I just go here to my EQ, or just go back on the parametric EQ. But I go to this the fader knobs. They they had the channel EQ. They had their own knobs. This is the high end of it, maybe the mid. Sometimes I just turn it down a little bit. But most times just the high end, because that's that stuff that competes with the hi-hats. So first, what we're gonna do, bring everything in. 0. Got all your instruments. Your master fader, keep it started at 0 because we're trying to get this thing mastered. And that's not to, correlate the two. Like the master fader means, you're gonna master. It just means like this is the sum of all the channels in one. But again, we are gonna master, and this is your guide. So we start at 0, and then you literally every instrument or every channel. Grab this classic EQ. This is what I do, or any trim plugin you have. It doesn't matter. But if you're talking about Mixcraft stock, this is what I found to be the best. You might find something else in there, but this I found to be the best. You input, and you literally, you can literally drag everything down to -18. But since I know now where I want everything to hit, my kick is the purpose of dragging it down to -18 is to find where it would hit best for you. But according to like just to be legit and straightforward and just had that surefire way for me, I found to just putting this kick to hit at that -10. And I literally heard this from another video where a guy was talking about he found the kick, the loudest instrument, and it hits. The kick is usually at -10. This is on a whole different DAW, and I'm like, wow, I can use that. Translated it to Mixcraft, and it seems like that's what the big record guys do, as far as the hip hop genre goes, because I mean it's every time I use a reference track, I would play one, but the video can get taken down, but that seems like that's where they have it, and then they that's when you go. You add your like nuances to it, like your EQs, you're putting the parallel compression to make it hit harder, and so things like that, so on and so forth. So you got your fader at 0, you go in, you grab the EQ, classic EQ and use it as a trim plug-in. You turn the kick down, hit at -10. Your 808 is right between -9 and 18. So somewhere I want to say like -14, but I can't necessarily read it because it skips the number. Then you clap or kick, same hi-hats right under the kick. So what that looks like is like -27 is on that, but you could be the judge of that. Use your ears, and then any other hi-hats. Then your main melody is right at -18. Any other chant or anything you have can fit under that or right at the same level as that at -18. Just depending on what you're trying to go for, the feel you're trying to go for, your music. Oh, and for the EQ, I don't do much with the main melody. When it comes, I use a parametric. If I need to cut out and make room for the vocal, which I'll show you in the next video, I just cut out where the vocal will be more dominant somewhere in here, and literally just roll off. Then in that low end, so it won't compete with my bass, because some of the main melodies be having, like for instance, like that low rumble tone, but it's pretty decent. Other than that, yeah. So that's pretty much it. It's been a long video actually, and I'm tired now. But I'll reinstate some of the stuff on the next video. It'll be on the next video. I'm going to show how to mix the vocals with the instruments, and like I said, you can check out this song in its entirety. It wasn't mixed exactly how it mixed here, but it was pretty decent. It was off our last album, Trinity, and you can look go to our YouTube page, click the link in the description for GI Wonder, and you can check out my upcoming project. I have the link in the description for that. The pre-save link, it's not going to be out yet, but you can pre-save it for 93 Crime Wave. You know what I'm saying? That'll be in the link in the description. So check that out. Subscribe to this channel, like it for more videos in Mixcraft. And I cannot wait to show the Busy Bone tutorial. I'm gonna show you how I mix those vocals using Mixcraft Pro 9. So you gotta wait on that because that's not out yet. Like we didn't put this on yet, and we may be having more guests on that record too, and you can kind of guess who else will be on that record. But check out Trinity, and you can hear, the original song that we done for, the Bone Thugs and Harmony. So that's exciting stuff, exciting news. But this has been dope. But until next time, man, Crime Wave, Christ really is moving everywhere. I'm out.